The Enonochian sun scorched the land. The Va River flowed much higher today, which made traversing it more interesting. Masai stepped off of the boat and onto the dock. Up ahead, the obelisk stretched into the sky, and behind it, the Neferi necropolis. As he approached the obelisk, Masai studied the spells etched into the stone. He noted the details of the structure. It seemed so bizarre that such a simple monument of stone could lock the power of a goddess. But then again, the magic of the obelisks was complex. Sotek had mentioned that it would take weeks to create such large obelisks, and they had to be perfect. Making new obelisks would surely attract unwanted attention, and then it would require the specialty of experienced builders too. Too bad the obelisks couldn't be made into smaller scale versions. Masai's blood ran cold for a moment. Now wasn't the time for such flights of fancy. He had a job to do. Several little orange flags stood posted in the ground, and they made a kind of trail through the necropolis. Masai followed them, but imagined his beloved Anakanti sitting on her throne. With a little bit of mana, he sent her a mental message.
I'm thinking about you.
He didn't mind that he didn't get a response back. Masai had already made it clear how he felt, and he had faith that Anakanti had been truthful as well. The path of flags led deeper into the necropolis, and eventually Masai stood before a tomb. The tomb had the front slab opened, so Masai poked his head inside.
Hello? Is anyone here? My name is Cleric Iados, and I'm here to bless the tomb.
A woman stepped into the corridor.
Hey, back here. We're about finished.
Darkness filled the tomb, and only a single torch flickered toward the back. As he entered, Masai let his gaze fall over the colorful painted walls. Brilliant colors made up wonderful images, and each of the scenes had the recently deceased woman depicted in them. On the wall to Masai's left, the woman stood in a field with a bow and arrow drawn. Large animals ran from her in fright. Several antelopes lay dead at her feet. To Masai's right, the same woman stood upon the deck of a boat in the middle of a vast ocean. Smaller men ran around her, presumably taking orders from the woman. In both images, the woman appeared happy. Masai moved down the corridor to the main chamber. Painted stars covered the ceiling, and the four walls had unique images plastered on them. On one wall, the woman commanded over a field of workers. They either tended crops or animals, and the image suggested incredible bounty. On another wall, the woman lay naked, surrounded by other naked people. Each person engaged in some kind of sexual act. On the third wall, the woman stood before a great house, something similar to something an anointed would have had. Little children ran about, playing with one another, while the woman stood by as a guardian. The last wall had yet to be completed. A heavy-set woman put the finishing touches on the last painting. She had long, wheat-brown hair and sun-dried skin. The other woman was slender, had a hawkish nose, short auburn-colored hair, and a set of large green eyes. She had been the one who called out to Masai before. On the wall, the image of a great feast with lots of dishes and guests caught his attention. The departed woman served as the host for the gathering.
That looks really good.
The heavy-set woman didn't turn her focus away.
Thanks. The orgy took the longest. We'll be ready for you to cast your spells as soon as I finish with this cooked pig.
The hawk-nosed woman walked up to Masai.
Hi there, I'm Zehba Da Silvia, Tomb Inspector.
She gestured to the heavy-set woman.
That's my wife, Enonoch, the best damn tomb builder and painter south of the Moha. I dare say you won't find another person who can do both roles unless you're in Memphar.
Ahi let out a groan before she glared at Zehba.
Stop it. I'm not great. I'm good, but that's about it.
Why do you have to be so humble, guiding star of my life? Trust me, I am a damn good tomb inspector. I know there aren't many who can capture images like you. That's why you're so sought after.
Wait, you're Ahi and Zehba. I've heard of you two. You're a famous team. Everyone in Enonoch knows about you.
Zehba turned back to Ahi.
See, I told you. Embrace your gifts.
Ahi stood up and dusted herself off.
I'd rather let my work be enjoyed without the hoopla. I'm done, by the way.
Ahi let out a satisfied sigh, and then wrapped the smaller woman in a side hug.
It's amazing that people create their own little piece of art, isn't it?
Yeah. Provided they pass the trials and gain Anakanti's favor.
Ahi held a balled fist at the base of her throat, against her chest.
May we all find Anakanti's favor.
Agreed.
Zehba turned to him.
Can we stay and watch you enact the tomb spell? We've actually never seen one of them done before.
Masai shrugged.
I don't know how exciting it will be. I've never cast them before. This is my first time.
Ahi let out a hearty laugh before she gave Masai a wink.
Then I'm glad we get to be here to witness it with you.
I don't suppose it would hurt anything. You would have to use death magic to channel the spells anyway.
Masai took a scroll out from his side bag. As he unrolled it, both of the women stood in the center of the room. Masai shared their eagerness. From his experience, those who listened to the spell only heard the ancient dialect of the gods and goddesses. To the one who read the scroll, they saw the spells written in the common script. To Masai's ears, he spoke in the common tongue.
Bless the walls with life for the one who will reside here. Let their fear of death be overcome by their immense cheer. Let them know no worry, no pain nor woe. Let them know only friend, and be absent of foe. Guard them from the outside world, where the evil of man reigns. Take them to the Holy Land, where in Ar they will be born again.
Masai wove his spell, and then his death magic stretched out from him like onyx tendrils of power. Both Zehba and Ahi gasped loudly, and they held one another in an excited apprehension. Masai's onyx tendrils reached out and touched each of the paintings. As soon as they did, the image on the wall came to life in accordance to the prescription. Soft sounds reverberated like echoes. The woman in each scene acted out the painting's themes. Cries of ecstasy filled the air, and the sounds of the sea provided a backdrop of noise. The smell of freshly cooked food wafted around him, and the children giggled as they played. For a brief moment, the pictures on the walls lived, and as soon as that moment passed, they reverted back to their original states.
I can still feel the magic.
Masai rolled up the scroll and then moved toward the front entrance.
I'll cast the spell above the doorway, and then it'll be ready for the body. When is the body coming?
Zehba gestured to herself.
As soon as I give my okay, the Shrine of Anakanti will send the body over. Based on my expert analysis, the tomb is ready for use.
Great.
Masai nodded toward one of the paintings of the woman.
Who was she?
The larger woman exited the tomb with her tools in a small side bag.
She was my cousin's wife, an adventurer of a woman. She always loved experiencing the exciting parts of life, and now she'll experience it in death too.
As soon as everyone was out of the tomb, Masai unrolled the scroll and read aloud as he traced a line against the doorframe of the entryway.
Once these doors are sealed, none may enter here, save those of Anakanti. Trespassers and thieves will rot from the inside out.
The stone slab above the door flashed, and the glyphs for the ancient spell carved itself into the surface.
Are you taking the ferry back?
I believe so.
Masai moved away from the tomb, but then a strange feeling came over him. It was as if someone splashed icy river water on his spirit. A female voice whispered in his mind.
Send those two away and remain behind. I need to speak with you. Masai
stopped in place.
Are you okay?
Masai pushed his childlike excitement to the back of his mind, and he took a deep breath.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm going to go check some of the other tombs to make sure nothing's been compromised. You two go on ahead.
Alright. It was great to meet you.
Are you kidding? The honor was mine.
The women followed the flags and left Masai alone. As soon as they had disappeared from sight, the voice returned.
Look over your shoulder.
Masai whirled around and saw Anakanti herself. Before he could move, Anakanti hugged him tightly. The sweet smell of funeral incense wafted off of her. Despite her smaller frame, she boasted enormous strength.
It's wonderful to see you.
When Anakanti pulled away, her eyes glistened.
Time passes much faster in the land of the dead. It feels like years since I have seen you or even heard your thoughts. How are you?
I'm well. I've done some very successful embalming sessions, and I did my very first tomb blessing.
Masai kept hold of her hips.
Are you okay? You sounded a little distressed.
To his dismay, Anakanti pulled away and stepped away from him.
I am indeed distressed. I can remember a time when humans held the afterlife to a sacred degree, and they both valued and feared the wrath of Lady Death. Now they mock me and steal from one another. Someone has stolen something precious from a sealed tomb. Not only that, they somehow bypassed the tomb spells that protected the poor soul. Thank goodness they did not damage any of the paintings. Still, this cannot be ignored.
It's terrible. But how could they bypass the spells? Is that even possible?
Anakanti frowned at him.
It is as if they have an object blessed by death magic. How they obtained it, I do not know. Come, follow me. I will show you the tomb.
The goddess moved with a rapid pace, and Masai did his best to keep up with her. She had to stop several times in order for him to catch up. Eventually, they got to the tomb. The tomb entrance had been slit open, and the blackness of the interior welcomed Masai. The spell above the door had a single groove carved in between the glyphs.
Whoever these worms were, they knew how to break the spell line. By the time I realized something was wrong, I was too late.
Anakanti's face contorted darkly, with a set of rage-filled eyes, a wrinkled nose, and a snarl.
I managed to watch them as they fled the necropolis. They mentioned something about a sand rat whore. I have no idea what that means.
Masai mouthed the words.
Sandrat whore? My brothers talked about some kind of seedy tavern when I was younger. I believe it was called the Sandrat Whore.
These people need to be punished. I knew you would be of some help. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you a major favor, my sweet Masai.
Anakanti's features softened. Masai held her hands in his own, and when their eyes met, he gave her his best smile.
What is it? I'll do anything for you.
She lowered her gaze and swallowed hard.
The item they stole was a very important relic. The tomb belonged to a cardinal who had lived 120 years ago, and he served me faithfully. The relic has two major abilities, one known and one kept secret. The known ability allowed the possessor immunity to the effects of death magic. However, only someone with a mana pool could use the relic.
Masai's eyes opened wide.
Wow. That could be disastrous if the primary five got a hold of it. What was the secret ability?
It gives the possessor the ability to communicate with me directly, without having to be within the aura of the obelisk. The mana required for sending messages is also diminished significantly.
You want me to go get this relic and bring it back, don't you?
A strange combination of trembling unease and white-hot rage danced in Masai's heart. On one hand, the Sand Rat Whore was rumored to be one of the most dangerous drinking places in all the city. On the other, someone had victimized his love.
It is going to be dangerous.
Masai smiled at her despite the presence of the unease.
I'm a death cleric. I'm plenty dangerous too.
Her soft hand caressed his cheek. It felt so good to be touched, and he nuzzled her fingers.
Death clerics can die as easily as anyone else.
If I die, I'll see you that much sooner.
Anakanti frowned, stepped back a little, and stared into his eyes.
If you die, I will either have to send you to R or split your soul apart and punish you forever. If you die, I will lose you forever.
Well then, I won't die.
Anakanti bit the bottom of her lip ever so slightly, and she rubbed her thumb against the back of Masai's fingers. Her delicate scent wafted all around him. Masai loved the way she smelled.
I will send some help. You will not be fighting alone.
You mean the Zur, right?
Masai scoffed a little, and he let his attention drift away from her. The last thing he wanted his beloved to see was the grim sparkle of jealousy in his irises.
They have a means of contacting you beyond the necropolis, don't they? Those lucky bastards.
Her delicate fingers grazed the back of his neck.
They carry with them a weaker version of the artifact, one that only permits them to send messages to me. Would you want such an artifact?
I'd rather have a mark placed upon me, so I could still contact you if the relic is ever taken from me.
Really? You would carry such a mark?
A wild excitement danced in her eyes. In response, Masai pulled open his robes and exposed his bare chest.
Could you actually place a mark on me? On my chest?
I do not see why not. Though, I have never tried it before.
Anakanti licked her lips for a moment.
No one has ever been willing to tattoo themselves before.
Anakanti placed her hand on his chest, and then locked gazes with him once more. Her fingers crackled with swirling gray and black magic. The magic kept making little popping noises, and then the aura leapt from her hand. It arced a little and then plunged into his skin. For a brief moment, immense pain blanketed out all of Masai's other senses. His head swam a little. When Anakanti took her hand away, a thick black ankh covered his right pectoral.
We should be able to talk to one another. You will have to use mana, but it should require less than what the Zur have to use.
She rubbed her fingers over the tattoo, and slight pain danced up Masai's nerve endings. He didn't reveal it to her, though.
If this works, then perhaps it can be given to others. Thank you for trying this out.
Masai put his robes back over his chest.
I should be thanking you. I think about you all the time. I still can't believe you're restricted to the necropolises.
Once more, the goddess frowned and her eyes drooped.
It is terribly lonely, both back in my home and in these empty cities. Do not get me wrong, I have my precious jackals, but I need more.
She locked eyes with Masai.
If this works, I will at least be able to hear your voice anytime I want.
Well, maybe I can start visiting you more frequently. I could charge the ferry fees to the shrine until I can save enough to get my own boat. Once I have that, I can come here whenever I don't have duties for the order.
You would visit me frequently? Really?
Of course.
Masai touched his chest and then touched hers, where he assumed her heart to be.
You have my soul and my love. I might be able to arrange living with you. I don't know if any builder would actually agree to construct a house out here, but maybe I could set up a large tent or something.
Her eyes opened wide.
You would consider living here? In the necropolis?
Masai stepped closer, and he eased his face closer to hers. In that moment, the goddess's eyes wavered slightly, and she bit her lip once more. The corners of her lips curved upward ever so slightly, as if to mock Masai by saying, "What took you so long, fool?" He gently kissed her on her lips for only a moment, before he pulled back and gazed into her eyes. She grinned, leaned in, and pressed her lips to his in a longer-lasting exchange. When they broke apart this time, Anakanti rubbed her cheek against his and breathed against the nape of his neck. Masai whispered into her ear,
If I did live here, would you live with me? You know, when you aren't passing judgment and all.
A sudden wildness danced in her eyes. She shifted around him and then moved in closer. Masai stepped back but found his back pressed against the tomb wall. Anakanti peered up at him, and her body nearly touched his. Masai breathed in rapidly as he watched the intensity within her eyes engorge to majestic brilliance. She grabbed his hand and interlaced her fingers in his, and immense magic flowed into his palm. His heart resonated with an almost cosmic hum and sent vibrations all throughout his core. Despite him being taller than her, Anakanti gazed at him with an absoluteness he couldn't deny. Compared to the goddess of death, Masai was simply a frail, short-lived thing that yearned for meaning. And yet, in this moment, she gazed at him with precious, adoring attention. Not only that, though, she generated a sense of encapsulated dominion, and Masai loved it. He averted his eyes for a moment, and his insides squirmed with a new kind of hunger. His free hand drifted onto her hip, and he gripped the fullness of her flesh. Anakanti only gave his groping hand a brief glance before looking back at him, with starving eyes. She stepped up closer, and their bodies pressed up against one another. When she breathed in, Masai felt it, and he matched his own intakes and exhales to hers. The air tingled with bated breath, as if the universe itself watched in lusty voyeurism. Anakanti pressed her cool lips against the nape of Masai's neck, and her teeth gently rested against his skin. Masai gave out a slight inhale of anticipation, and the death goddess giggled before she nibbled a little. Static ecstasy rippled throughout his senses. When she paused, Masai gave her a pleading nuzzle, and so she bit down harder. He shifted against her will, wiggling beneath her powerful form, no matter how much force he pushed against her. Anakanti pinned him to the wall. After many moments, she pulled her mouth away, and then whispered into Masai's ear.
You go and get my relic back. When you return to me, there will be a house waiting. Our house.
Masai swallowed hard, and then gave her a deep nod.
I'll return to you. But I need to know some things first. When did these thieves leave the necropolis?
Anakanti stepped away, but kept her fingers interlocked with his.
This morning, let me show you their faces.
She closed her eyes, and a moment later, Masai saw the men in his mind's eye. One of them had a scraggly goatee and a patch over his right eye. The second man had several missing teeth, a broad, strong jaw, and a thick, wide nose.
Wow, those are some ugly men.
I agree. They will be even uglier once I get my hands on them.
She hugged him tightly.
Be safe, and come back to me.
Masai hugged her back, but a moment later he hugged only air. She still watched him, but her absence sent jarring discordance into his soul. Damn it! He wanted to hold her, kiss her, and be with her again. He drew in a deep breath and made his way for the docks.